I walked into the bank early that morning, expecting nothing more than a routine transaction. It was a Thursday, and I had a packed day ahead. Meetings with potential investors, a few calls with my board, and, of course, checking on my company's latest project developments. My life as the CEO of a tech company left little time for mundane errands, but this one felt like it would be easy, just like any other banking task. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. The bank had been a place I frequented without ever questioning its efficiency. I had been a customer for years, both as an individual and as a business owner. I had always been treated with respect, at least that was the case until today. As I stepped inside the branch, I noticed a subtle unease in the air. It wasn't anything glaring. The people were going about their business, some filling out forms, others sitting in line. But there was something about the way the employees moved. There was hesitation in their steps, a quiet discomfort that I couldn't quite place. I approached the teller, a young woman in her 20s with short blonde hair and a nervous smile. I tried to shake off the weird feeling that was growing inside me, so I offered a warm smile of my own. "Good morning," I said, trying to start the exchange with my usual easy confidence. She glanced up at me, then quickly looked down at her screen. Her fingers hovered awkwardly over the keyboard, and I felt a strange chill. It was as if she wasn't quite sure what to do with me. "How can I help you today?" she asked in a voice that seemed a little too rehearsed. "I need to withdraw a large sum from my business account," I said calmly, placing my business card and account details on the counter in front of her. I could see that she wasn't responding immediately, and she looked slightly rattled. I waited for her to take the information, but she seemed reluctant. I noticed she kept glancing over her shoulder toward the manager's office. A few moments passed. "Is there a problem?" I asked, my patience beginning to wear thin. She looked up at me, clearly flustered. "I just need to verify your details, sir." "One moment." I nodded, but the growing unease in my stomach made it difficult to stay calm. I had been coming to this bank for years. Never once had I been questioned in such a manner, especially for something as routine as a withdrawal. She then turned away from me and murmured something to a man who was now walking toward the counter. He had the air of authority about him, his dark suit and stern expression indicating that he was in charge. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked, looking me up and down with a somewhat stiff posture, his tone far more formal than necessary. "I'm trying to make a routine withdrawal from my account," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the growing frustration. "Right," the man said, his eyes narrowing as he glanced at the information on the screen. "I just need to check something." He didn't meet my eyes directly as he spoke, and I could feel that something wasn't right. I took a deep breath, trying to remain composed, but the tension was building, and I could feel the discomfort spreading through my body. There was a barrier between us now, an invisible one that had nothing to do with the transaction but everything to do with something else. I cleared my throat. "Is there a problem?" I asked again, my voice taking on a sharper edge. The man paused for a long moment, then looked at me. "Please bear with us. We're just verifying some details," he said quickly, almost too quickly. "Verifying what, exactly?" I pressed. At this point, I couldn't ignore the feeling that I was being treated differently, and it angered me. He turned slightly, glancing back at the teller. She was nervously fidgeting with the papers on the counter, avoiding my gaze entirely. It wasn't normal, not for someone like me. I had worked my way to this position. I had built my company from the ground up, going through hurdles that no one could imagine. I had made it through thick and thin. Yet here I was being treated like I didn't belong in this space, like I wasn't worthy of the simple service I had asked for. The manager took a moment, then spoke again, his voice soft but dismissive. "I'm sorry for the delay. We're just making sure everything is in order." It was at that moment that I realized what was going on. This wasn't a routine check. It wasn't about verifying details. This was about something else, something far more insidious. They were questioning me, doubting my authenticity. They were hesitating because of the color of my skin. The thought hit me like a punch to the stomach. I had been so focused on the transaction, on just getting in and out, that I hadn't realized how differently I was being treated until it was right in front of me. "Excuse me," I said, my voice now much sharper than before. "I've been a customer at this bank for years. I've done business with you all for my company, and you're telling me there's an issue now. Why?" The manager's face froze, but he said nothing. The tellers behind the counter exchanged quick glances, their unease palpable. I could see it in their eyes. They were hoping I would back down, that I would just let it slide. But I wasn't going to. I've been in business for over a decade. I run a multi-million-dollar company. I continued, my voice low and controlled. "And you're questioning my account. Because of what?" "My appearance." The manager blinked, clearly flustered, but still didn't respond. The young teller remained silent, still avoiding my gaze. I was done waiting. I was done being treated as if I wasn't important, as if I didn't belong in that space. I stepped back from the counter, took out my phone, and called the corporate office. I didn't have time to waste. I wasn't going to let this slip under the rug. While waiting for the line to connect, I looked around the branch. No one else was being treated like this. No one else was being questioned or made to feel uncomfortable. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was happening because of me, because of my skin color. The corporate office picked up, and I explained the situation calmly, but firmly. I could hear the shock in the representative's voice as I recounted what had happened. She promised me that she would escalate the issue immediately, and I asked her to stay on the line. It was clear that the bank had crossed a line. They had made an assumption based solely on my appearance, and I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I had the power to do something about it. As I hung up the phone, I turned to the manager and the teller. "Let me make this clear," I said, my voice cold and unwavering. "This will not be tolerated. Not now, not ever. And you are about to see the consequences of your actions." I took another moment, allowing the tension in the air to build, before I spoke again. "All of you, every single person in this branch, are fired. Effective immediately." The words hung in the air, and for a long moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. The teller's face turned ghostly white, and the manager's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" I asked, my voice firm. "You've treated me with disrespect, and for that, you will all answer. You've lost your jobs today. Every single one of you. Pack your things and leave." The manager opened his mouth to protest, but I held up my hand. "Don't bother. You've lost the right to speak. You'll hear from my lawyers soon enough." I stood there for a moment, watching them shuffle nervously, some of them looking at each other as if hoping someone would step in. But no one did. Not a single person moved to stop me. Because, in that moment, I wasn't just a CEO making a transaction. I was someone who had decided to hold them accountable for their actions. 7 minutes. That was all it took for them to pack up their things and leave. And as I walked out of that bank, I realized that this was not just a personal victory. It wasn't just about my pride or my dignity. It was about something bigger, something that needed to be said, something that had to be done. Because if I didn't stand up for myself, I knew no one else would. I was never going to let anyone make me feel small again. Not in that bank, not anywhere. I left that day knowing that I had made a difference. I had sent a message to anyone who thought they could dismiss me, to anyone who thought they could treat me like I was less than. And most importantly, I had shown that power, when used correctly, could change things for good. The bank learned a valuable lesson that day, and so did I. Sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't just mean demanding respect. It means ensuring that others know they will be held accountable when they cross the line. And that's exactly what I did.